interested in what the US corporations are doing now in terms of what confidence they have in the future. I'm not sure where I saw the figures, but it might have been Malden's newsletter. I get a lot of information from that. But the amount they're borrowing, and that makes sense because it's so cheap, and the amount they're investing, there's a huge discrepancy. It seems like they're just sitting on loads of cash, which they borrowed, but don't seem to have the confidence to invest it.
I think that's a good point, and I think that's one of the reasons why growth hasn't been as strong as we would have expected. And corporations are generally in good shape, and their profit margins are very high. What we've seen lately is that a lot of companies are taking advantage of the low interest rates, and they're borrowing and buying back their stock, and this helps with their earnings growth. So we're seeing a lot of that in the market. But I agree with you. I think the next leg in economic growth in the US is got to be investment, capital expenditure, and we haven't seen that yet. And hopefully, as we get more confidence and companies get more confidence, that will happen, and that will be the next leg.
Yeah, I think one of the other challenges, though, is that, I mean, US companies have something like $2 trillion essentially in offshore subsidiaries where they've had earnings taxed at lower rates that would be taxed at relatively, injurious rates if they were repatriated to the US. So the challenge for a lot of companies, especially the big companies like, whether it's Microsoft or Apple or even Google, I mean, they in theory, if there wasn't this tax cost, could bring back capital and deploy it in the US if they see the opportunities there. But there is a tax cost in doing so. So interestingly, coming back to the borrowing of money, that is also a way of getting around that problem. You've got cash over here, you're borrowing money, the difference between the returns is really low, and you're not paying 15 or 20% tax to get the money back in the country. So unless the US actually squares away its tax policies and tax models, that money is probably going to stay offshore indefinitely.
I'm also looking forward to seeing wage growth, and I think that could be a motivator for companies to start investing in productivity and if they have to keep paying higher wages.